Hi. Today I'm going to be talking about a few items that I have made recently. All of these items are listed in my shop, and I am currently working on patterns for all of them. So if you're interested in that, you can follow my Instagram for updates. The first thing I want to talk about is by far my favorite thing I've knitted recently. It is this felted wool bag. I knitted it up and I tossed it in the washer to felt it, and I just love how it turned out. I originally had the straps up higher at the opening of the bag, and then I took them off and I relocated them so that they go all the way around. And I love the look that that adds, and also it adds extra security to the strap. I knitted it with 100% wool from the Malabrigo brand. It is the chunky wool. I originally knitted it with, I can't remember, I think maybe size 6 needles, and it just took way too long and the stitches were pretty tight. So I actually frogged the whole thing so that I could knit it up with bigger needles. I knitted it up again with size 8, and it took far less time and the stitches were a lot looser. And when you're felting knitting, it is okay. It's sometimes even preferred if the stitches are a little looser. It also just takes so much less time and so much less yarn, so it's really beneficial. I did the calculations when I was making the bag, and if I wanted to sell it as a finished product, knitting with the size 6 needles, it would have had to been like over $248, and I just don't find that sustainable. So I wanted to find a way to do it a little bit cheaper. I think it's listed for just over 200 on my Etsy, but I'm gonna get some even bigger needles, see if I can get the cost down a little bit more, and then conserve yarn and use a little bit less yarn on it. I also plan to make a crocheted version, see how the crochet stitches felt compared to the knitted stitches. I've written crochet patterns before and published crochet patterns before, but I have never written or published a knitting pattern, and I'm not even really sure how to write a knitting pattern. I've never even followed a knitting pattern. I just do pretty much my own like free-handed basic knitting projects. The next item that I made recently, which I love, is my granny square bag. I just made, I think it's about 30 granny squares, and I sewed them together. I think the stitch that I used to sew them together is called the mattress stitch. Instead of crocheting them together, I just used my needle and I stitched them together. I think that that looks cleaner. It kind of like connects them together without there being a seam or a stitch in the middle, which for this project, I really like how it looks. And it also feels really sturdy. I have another one of these bags that I made years ago with a different cotton yarn, and it's stretched out a bit, but it's really held up its shape really well. And I even toss these in the washer and I just lay them flat to dry, and they are really durable. I love using this cotton yarn for projects like this. This one was crocheted with Karen all day cotton yarn. It's 100% cotton, 100% mercerized cotton, and I think that the color is coffee bean. This one is also linked on my Etsy shop, and I do plan to write up a pattern for this one as well, since it is crochet. And I also will be posting a simple granny square tutorial on my Instagram. If you're interested in that, you can just save that post for easy reference. I learned to crochet granny squares via blogs on Pinterest. I would like search it on Pinterest, go to the blog, and that can be really complicated sometimes when you're having to go back in and refresh constantly. So I just made it a simple Instagram post that you can just save right on Instagram and scroll through each photo for step by step. The next thing that I made is my crochet market bags, which I use my own pattern for. Again, I do plan to write a pattern for this one. I just haven't gotten around to it. I already use them all the time at grocery stores, at Fresh Time, and I use them every week, and they stretch out a little bit. They actually stretch really nicely, so you can fit all your groceries into them. I am a stay-at-home mom to a 5-year-old, so I'm always doing random stuff, and I always have to carry bags of random stuff here and there. So they come in handy a lot. And also, they can also be tossed right in the washer, which makes it really nice. I included some pictures of the bag charms that I make also on some of these, because I just kind of switch them out depending on the day. And also, I think some of them look better on the different colors. I really like how the tomatoes look on the green of the bag. Those are linked on my Etsy. I don't think I will write a pattern or tutorial for those. They are needle felted. If I ever did anything, it would be in a YouTube video. So if you're interested in that, you can let me know. I might consider doing some type of tutorial for um, my needle felted items. The last thing I want to talk about is my zippered pouches that I am currently working on. This is the last thing I'm talking about, but it is actually the most recent thing that I have been making. I've been cranking them out like crazy, and I actually just bought a whole bunch of yarn earlier today to make some more and some more colors. I'm really excited about these. I knit these up and I felt them as well, the same way that I did the first bag. I just toss them in the washer once they're knitted up and sewed together. And I love how they turned out. They are super durable. They are really soft, and I just think they're so cute. Excuse her. But I am currently working on figuring out exactly the right size that I want these. I have them listed on my Etsy currently, but I'm kind of fine tuning how many rows versus how many stitches in each row right now. I will, I think, write a pattern for these. Again, they're knitted, so I want to experiment crocheting these and felting them. That would be much easier for me to write a pattern for. I also may just take the dive and learn how to write knitting patterns. I think that would be a really cool challenge for myself this year. But I just, as a stay at home mom, I am very limited on time that I get to do things like that. So I don't know when I'll get to that. But I will be coming out with a video showing the difference of knitted and felted stuff, and then an identical product that has also been crocheted and felted, because I personally am really curious on what the difference would be. When I knit these things up to felt, I knit them in stockinette, so they are flat on one side, and then the more textured side is the back, but it's on the inside. And I think that crochet would be less flat, it'd be a little more textured, so I really wonder how that would felt up and what it would look like in comparison. I think that it could be a lot quicker and a lot easier potentially to knit some or to crochet something up. However, crochet tends to use more yarn than knitting does. Oh, the neighbors. Yes, the neighbors are parking at their house. That is very upsetting. Hey, shush. Thank you so much for watching. If you are interested in all things fiber arts, feel free to follow. All my links are below. I will also link the yarn that I mentioned today in the description box. You can check out my Instagram for more information. I post there pretty regularly about pattern releases, products, and also behind the scenes. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye.